The past year has been one of unprecedented challenges and tragedy for Israelis and Palestinians alike. 2023 began with the Netanyahu government's proposed judicial overhaul, the increasing normalization of far-right extremism and acceleration of West Bank annexation threatened the very foundations of Israeli democracy and prospects for addressing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Through the spring and summer of 2023, Israel's social cohesion, the shared values that undergird the U.S.-Israel relationship, and Israel's ties with diaspora Jews were pushed to the limits like never before. And then the unthinkable happened. The atrocities committed by Hamas on October 7 not only left Israelis traumatized, but also challenged a core promise of the state to keep Jews safe, upended basic assumptions about Israel's security, and sowed fear and mistrust across Israeli society. Israel was thrust into a war it did not choose in order to defend its citizens, return those taken captive, and ensure Hamas never again has the ability to use Gaza as a staging ground for terror and rocket attacks. But as the war has moved forward, a vision for the future has not. Hamas remains in Gaza along with Israeli hostages. The war has wrought a tragic humanitarian crisis and devastated Palestinian lives and livelihoods. And rising extremism among both Israelis and Palestinians continues to pose a mounting threat to the future of both peoples in the region. All of these events have left American Jews in the crossfire. Amidst the heightened protests and posturing of activists and politicians alike, we live in an environment where it is difficult to find credible information and clear-headed analysis. And the conflict is so often framed as a zero-sum game that pits identity against values. Israel Policy Forum disrupts this paradigm. Guided by our commitment to a better future for Israelis and Palestinians alike, we offer constructive policy analysis and recommendations and educational content attuned to the complex reality on the ground, while recognizing the basic truth that neither people can or should go anywhere else. Following October 7, we witnessed a surge in demand for our content online in Washington and Jewish communities, where we regularly partner with local and national organizations across the country. Our flagship IPF Atid program has become among the fastest growing, most dynamic and diverse platforms for young American Jews seeking nuance, connection, and informed and respectful debate about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the future of a secure, Jewish, democratic Israel. Israelis and Palestinians and their supporters abroad have never been more polarized. October 7 and the ensuing war have exacerbated hopelessness among Israelis and Palestinians that the other side will ever be willing to accept their legitimacy or even basic humanity. But this upheaval also brings an unprecedented opportunity for effective U.S. leadership toward bolstering Israel's regional acceptance and charting a viable long-term path toward a future that enables Palestinian aspirations to be fulfilled and Israel's paramount security needs to be safeguarded. In this moment, our voice has never been more essential.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. I'm David Sherman. I'm the board chair of Israel Policy Forum, and I can't thank you enough for all being here today. I've had the opportunity to be in this role for a year. I've followed Susie Gelman's footsteps, and you can imagine how challenging that is for all the work that she did over the many, many years to get Israel Policy Forum where we are today. And I was kidding around with everybody here. Yeah, absolutely. Susie did an unbelievable job growing the organization to where we are, and it's such a treat to be able to follow the work that she's done. And today we're able to honor Larry, who, you know, he's an amazing honoree because he's really uncomfortable being honored, and that tells me everything that I need to know about you, how menschy and humble you are. You're a perfect honoree, and thank you for agreeing to be part of this. You're such a good man, so thank you. So I had the opportunity to take on this role a year ago when we actually honored Susie, and I was thinking back to what was going on at that point. We had something very cute called judicial overhaul, and I remember thinking, oh my God, what is going on in Israel? Can things get any worse? And then October 7th happened. I said, oh my God, things can get worse. When Israel and the Jewish community was impacted by the worst attack against the Jewish people since the Holocaust. The fact that thousands have died, unbelievable, and that we're sitting here 7 months later, 7.5 months, with no end in sight. We still have 130 hostages out there. The fact that, as Shani mentioned in the video, the incredible destruction and the lives disrupted in Gaza. I mean, it's just such an incredibly painful situation. And then on top of it, over the last year, we've seen something that I'd never witnessed in my 63 years of age, and that is the anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism that we've seen. And it is just a never-ending challenge. But it's interesting, even with that, I have to tell you, I feel so blessed to be part of Israel Policy Forum, because I cannot imagine a place that would be better to be over the last year than working with the folks that I'm working with. And Shani, in this video, talks about it, but I mean, we were the folks out there on humanitarian, we were the folks out there on day after plans, and in a weird way, I feel like Israel Policy Forum's almost been a place where I've been able to do some group therapy as well, because it's been so stressful for all of us, so I feel blessed for that. So what's been going on with us and why we've been so lucky is we have an unbelievable group of professionals. David Halper, my partner, leads the way, been amazing, and obviously for those of you who are here today, the work that Lizzie and Elad and their team did today, I can't thank you enough for that, and Larry, I hope they were solid to work with, but thank you. You guys were absolutely fantastic in setting this up. Also, just a quick acknowledgement on our board. We have so many of our board members here today. I've been doing Jewish communal work forever, and I cannot ever think of a board where I'm working with such a distinguished group of people. You can check out their bios online, but we have every major organization probably represented in this room, and thank you, my fellow board members, for everything that you do. You're fantastic. And let me just finish up by saying, before we get into Larry's story and really focusing on the great work that he's done, thank you to all of you, because obviously the work that we do costs dollars, and the impact that we have is only possible because of all of you in this room. So from the bottom of my heart, and I think from all of our team, thank you for being here, thank you for your continued support, and thank you for all you do to make sure this dream of two people living side by side in peace can become true. So with that, if we can, I'd like to turn it over. We have a little video, and Larry, you look traumatized, but we're excited for you, so let's go.
I would say that the year 2008 was the time that you could flip my non-being involved in Israel to being involved with Israel, which is the first time I went to Israel, and I went with Marilyn. At the end of the trip, it was a UJ mission. At the end of the trip, as they always do in UJ missions, you sit around in a room and you discuss how you felt about the trip. And I remember that day like it happened yesterday. We're going around the room, and they come to me, and I could not speak. I couldn't say a word. The effect that Israel had on me was so enormous and so unexpected that it affected me in a way that changed my life, really, on that very trip. That very moment when I couldn't speak, if you asked me why I couldn't speak, I wouldn't be able to tell you. But as I think about it and thought about it over the years, it was clear because it affected me in ways that I couldn't possibly comprehend. So in the year 2012, a good friend of mine and colleague, William Schwartz, introduced me to Peter Joseph. And I was intrigued by what the organization does. At that time, there was Peter as chairman of the board. There was David Halpern, our David Halpern, who was the CEO, and he had a staff of maybe one or two part-time people. That was 2012. And I've been on the board ever since 2012. I've been there since Peter started to grow the organization and develop his staff. I've been there for the presidency of the incomparable Susie Gelman, who grew it in multiples that you couldn't possibly imagine. And that growth is continuing with Dave Sherman. It's remarkable to me how talented and committed the staff is. It's something that all of us see every day when we deal with IPF. And it makes working with IPF, contributing to IPF, an obvious thing that we have to do. Israel is, to most American Jews, is so very important. And because of that importance, and because of the effect that what happens in Israel affects us, God knows now, since October 7th, it's clear to us that what happens in Israel affects us. And if it does, it doesn't mean that we want to take over the government or tell Israel what they have to do, but it does mean that American Jews should feel free to engage in conversation and discussions with Israel. The phenomenal growth and development of Atid is actually mind-bending. And the way it's grown to get involved in these issues from the younger generation is, number one, important and most important, and number two, amazing that it's actually happened and it's been so successful. If you're interested and you're looking to examine and educate yourself on the issues, there's probably no one better, no organization that delivers that information better than IPF. But I wanted to conclude, and this relates to what I think Israel Policy Forum will do, in fact, and it's from Pirkei Avot, The Ethics of the Fathers. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now, walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. That's IPF.
Hello everyone, I'm David Halperin, the CEO, and that video shows Larry. Why we're here to honor Larry this afternoon. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank our incredible board and staff, especially Lissy Diringer and her team for the remarkable feat. 2 events in 2 cities in 4 days. And of course, I want to thank Larry for agreeing to be honored, which is not an easy thing to do. So grateful to Larry because behind the scenes, Larry has really done it all for IPF. As some of you know, Israel Policy Forum was established in 1993 with the encouragement of Yitzhak Rabin. And following the collapse of the Oslo peace process, the organization ultimately merged with the DC think tank. After a few years, our past board chair, Peter Joseph, began an effort to relaunch a new independent IPF and asked me to help to see if the idea might catch on. I would not be here, Larry would not be here, frankly, none of us would be here if it wasn't for Peter's initiative, and Peter's with us here today, so I want to acknowledge Peter for that leadership. Thank you, Peter. But as Peter knows, it was not at all clear this new iteration of Israel Policy Forum was going to work out. Thankfully, Larry Gottlieb saw potential. Larry joined us, as you heard, when I was essentially the only employee. Took a chance on joining this fledgling effort from the start, and I think he saw a challenge. And I'm so very grateful that he did. Because I'll say again, behind the scenes, Larry really did it all. First working with Peter, and then later with Susie Gelman, as you heard. Larry crafted our bylaws, helped with our governance processes. He oversaw our budgeting, our banking, our hiring, our personnel policies, our audits, our office leases and moves, traveled numerous times with the IPF to Israel, in which we had some of the most consequential deliberations about IPF's positions and policy. Of course, he led our budget committee and our executive committee, our CEO evaluation committee, and on and on and on. I really could list ad nauseum so much that Larry has done for this organization, and I think you get the point. Every board needs someone like Larry Gottlieb, someone that not only brings commitment, encouragement, and expertise, but is always willing to show up and do the work. Together with the staff, the work that needs to get done for any organization to be positioned to make an impact. As a young director of the organization, I especially needed Larry's help and his guidance over the last 10 years. So Larry's belief in our potential and his work behind the scenes helped us become the organization we are today. Today we're making an impact. Today our policy research and analysis is sought after by policymakers and covered in major media outlets. We've been in the lead producing ideas on how to improve the humanitarian situation in Gaza, on how to craft a viable path to the day after this war, and a blueprint for revitalizing Palestinian governance. Our weekly Koplow column, written by the one and only Michael Koplow, is a voice of reason that policymakers and community leaders turn to in every week. Our podcast, Israel Policy Pod, has seen its audience grow exponentially. And in Washington, we're sought after for private briefings out our expertise. We recently mobilized both Democrats and Republicans to oppose the downgrading of the U.S. Security Coordinator in Jerusalem, a critical position overseeing Israeli-Palestinian security cooperation in the West Bank, and helped to introduce the Middle East Security Coordination Act, a bill in the Senate to expand that effort, a bill that was introduced just days before the October 7 attacks. And since October 7, we've been a key resource for the Jewish community and for young professionals in particular. In the past nearly 8 months now, we've convened 59 community programs, and remarkably, in just the past 7.5 months, we've had over 215 young professional programs in 19 cities. We are deepening the education of our community leaders when it comes to Israeli politics and the conflict, and that young professional program is providing an outlet for discussion and debate and creating a vibrant young leadership community. So I genuinely believe that without Larry and all of this remarkable staff that he has worked so closely with, that none of this work would have been possible, but there is really genuinely so much more work to do. We recognize that we're at a especially perilous moment. Israel's fight against Hamas continues. Nearly 8 months into war, Israeli hostages remain captive. Hamas's leadership remains entrenched in their tunnels. Rockets continue to target Israeli cities. Gaza civilians are displaced. The humanitarian crisis is ongoing. Of course, U.S.-Israel tensions are rising. At IPF, we've long made the case the Israeli-Palestinian conflict does not have a military solution. Today in this war, it's clear Hamas can't be defeated by military means alone, only with a political alternative and a viable plan for what comes after Hamas's military and governing capacity. After they are destroyed, will victory be in sight? But as consequential as the last year has been, the next year with war, diplomacy, and elections will be every bit as consequential. People are looking to IPF for guidance. They're looking to us for leadership, credible information, for education, for ideas. They're looking to us for nuance. And I know we're poised to provide all that and more, with thanks to all of you in this room and to Larry in particular. So I'm grateful to all Larry has done for this organization and for me personally. And I know that for many Israelis and Palestinians, it's difficult to even contemplate or mention the idea of two states for two peoples amidst the simmering pain, anger, and fear of this conflict, and that's understandable. But IPF will remain committed to ensuring we do not lose sight of a path to ensure a secure Jewish and democratic Israel, and we will do all we can to help policymakers and community leaders overcome the challenges of these difficult days, those that are still to come. So again, I'm thankful not only for Larry has done for this organization and for me, but for all I know he will continue to do. Larry, on behalf of all of us, the staff, thank you so very much. We're almost through. Now please join me in watching some special tributes to our well-deserving honoree.
Greetings to all of my friends at the Israel Policy Forum. Thank you for the great work that you do to promote a secure, democratic, Jewish state of Israel. Especially during these trying times that we face right now, we can't lose vision of a two-state solution. It can't happen right now, but it's got to be our hope for the future. And the work that you do at the Israel Policy Forum is so important. I'm especially happy tonight to be greeting my good friend, Larry Gottlieb. Larry, congratulations on being honored tonight. Thank you for your work as the former treasurer of this wonderful organization, and for all the work you've done for so many different not-for-profits over the years, from the UJA, where you served as its leader, to the Common Point, to the National University Medical Center, to the Tillis Center, so much more. You and Marilyn are wonderful people who have tremendous talent and have always given back, have shown that people with great talent can make a big difference when they apply themselves to the common good. And that's what you and Marilyn have done throughout your lives. So congratulations, it's well deserved. You deserve so much more, Larry, but we're very, very happy for you, and thank you for all your good work.
I am thrilled that I can participate in honoring you, Larry. It has been such a pleasure working together over the last many years. You are an extraordinary leader. Your judgment, wisdom, creativity have made such a contribution to Israel Policy Forum. You're often given the thorniest issues to deal with, and you always come up with an elegant solution. And I should say, whenever I learn I'm going to work with you, a smile comes to my face, because you also have a very special sense of humor. May you go from strength to strength.
I'm very, very honored to be able to participate this afternoon in recognizing the contributions of Larry Gottlieb to the Israel Policy Forum. Larry, your sense of humor and your commitment to the mission of IPF has been central in all of its efforts. Thank you very much, and congratulations to you and your family from the entire community.
Larry, there are lots of reasons that you're one of the most beloved IPF board members, but one of them for me is your humility, my vision of a truly giving person.
Larry, I'm so grateful to have gotten to know you through our work together at Israel Policy Forum. As treasurer and chair of the Budget Committee, you steered our ship well. You have always made yourself available to IPF, such as your efforts to help address our office space needs, along with your able guidance of our financial path. Our trip to Israel last December was unforgettable, and I'm so glad that you joined Elisa, Alex, and me to show solidarity, bear witness, and strengthen each other at such a sobering time. Larry, you have become a dear friend and someone on whom I can always rely for sage advice and counsel. Mazal tov on this honor.
Israel Policy Forum has been so fortunate to have you as a longtime board member and for your many years of service as treasurer and budget committee chair. Personally, I am so grateful for your support, friendship, and thoughtful partnership over the past 5 years. Not only have I benefited tremendously from your expert guidance on all things legal and financial, but your wit and sense of humor made our many discussions on topics that can be a little dry, like contracts, budgets, and insurance renewals, also a lot of fun. Congratulations, Larry, on this well-deserved honor.
Larry, nothing gives me greater pleasure than to have this opportunity to thank you publicly for everything you've done in our work together. You have been truly a secret weapon for UJA Federation of New York, and I personally have had so much gratitude for your strategy, your thought partnership, and ultimately your human support of the work that we do. Thank you, and Mazal Tov on this honor from Israel Policy Forum.
Mazel tov, Larry. We are so excited here at Common Point to celebrate you today. You work so tirelessly on behalf of the Jewish community, both locally with the work that we do at Common Point and obviously with this incredibly important mission here at the Israel Policy Forum. I'm so excited to see you being honored and to celebrate you. You are just a true mentor and a wonderful friend to so many, and congratulations, you deserve every single accolade.
Shimon HaTzadik says in Pirkei Avot that it is upon 3 things the world stands: Torah, Avodah, V'gmilut Chasadim. The Torah, the work, and acts of kindness, of chesed. Well, dear Larry, you and I have studied Torah together at the secular yeshiva in Tel Aviv, we have worked together to promote the values that we share, the values of pluralism and democracy and social justice. And you have done a great many acts of kindness, of chesed, for Bina, where we met over a decade ago, and for me, personally and professionally over the years. You, together with Marilyn, have been mentors, advisors, supporters, and most importantly, friends. So, if the world can stand on those three legs, our friendship will certainly endure. And I couldn't be more proud to call you Chaver and Tzaddik. So kol hakavod on this honor, and toda rabah for all that you do to make our world a better place.
Mazel tov to Israel Policy Forum, and most of all, my congregant and friend, Larry Gottlieb. Larry, I'm sorry I'm not there with you today. I want to wish you Mazel tov as your rabbi on this well-deserved honor. As Jews, we say, if you will it, it is no dream. I remember a few years ago when you came to me and you talked to me about the mission of Israel Policy Forum, the importance of finding a sane center, a place where we could gather together as committed Jews, committed Zionists, and dream of Israel's future. That mission has grown and grown and grown by way of your vision, by way of your commitment, and I congratulate you. It is more important than ever, the work of Israel Policy Forum. It is the place that the necessary and urgent conversations for Israel, for the Jewish world are taking place. May we go from strength to strength. Larry, Mazel Tov.
Congratulations, Dad, on this well-deserved honor. You've always taught by example of fighting for what you believe in and getting involved with organizations that share your values.
From a guy that always tells us to hit it like you mean it, we have no doubt you will help the IPF succeed in their mission.
We love you.
We love
and
you.
Congratulations again.
Congrats, Larry.
Hi, Dad. We're so happy to be here with you today as you're honored for your work with IPF. Ever since I can remember, you've always supported organizations that share your beliefs and make a difference in this not-so-perfect world. Now, while financial support is critical, it's always been your generosity with your time that's been truly remarkable. We've had conversations in the past about Israel, some good, some not so good, but throughout all of that, we've always shared certain principles: equality, justice, decency, and security for Israel. Now more than ever, we need to stand up for what is right, and I'm proud to know that you're going to be at the front of the pack.
We're so grateful that our kids have such amazing role models in their grandparents. You and Marilyn have dedicated so much of your lives to the betterment of communities near and far, and it's plain to see that you do this work with optimism and joy, and we can't think of a better example to set for our kids. Thank you.
It's hard to believe that it's been almost 52 years since two random law students managed to sit across from each other in the library. Instead of studying, we talked and we laughed, and we have spent the ensuing 52 years continuing that conversation and making sure to laugh along the way. But much has changed in those years. 3 children, their amazing partners, 7 incredible grandchildren, merging law firms, and a mustache that somehow disappeared one day. But some things have remained the same. Your passion for whatever you undertake, your desire to make the world a better place, not just for your children and grandchildren, but for all the children and grandchildren in the world, your sense of justice and loyalty, your incredible ability to analyze a situation, decide what needs to be done, and your determination to see the job through, your optimism, especially when it comes to your belief in a strong, safe, secure, and democratic Jewish state. I am so proud of you, and I look forward to continuing our conversation and laughing for many more years to come. Love you.
Hello again, I'm Susie Gelman, and I get the honor of bestowing our appreciation upon you, Larry, in a second. Hard to add to what's already been said about you, but as someone said, everything's been said, but not everyone has said it. So I'm just going to repeat some of what was said, because in the 7 years that I was board chair, and we didn't know each other before Israel Policy Forum, I really came very quickly to rely on your sagacity, your wisdom, your good counsel in so many respects. It's no exaggeration to say that Larry is responsible, along with Snezhana and the rest of our team, for really steering our financial ship right. You always put in the time, never said no. Didn't really want to be honored, I know that, but don't forget that one of our 5 values at Israel Policy Forum is perseverance, and we weren't going to let you get away with saying no. And of course, I guess it was a little unfair that I actually asked you in Israel at a moment of weakness or vulnerability, whatever. But between that, you always were there to help us figure out where's the right office space for us. I remember all the time you put in on that. I want to say, as a member of the Executive Compensation Committee or Executive Evaluation Committee, I never remember what we call it, you, Elisa, and I worked together. It wasn't just about evaluating David's performance. It was really about focusing every year on what were the priorities for the organization. And you certainly were an important part of those conversations. A particular fun memory I have was in a blinding snowstorm in December when we had an event at the Stryker Center, and you, Elisa, and I were supposed to meet beforehand to discuss the executive evaluation, and I couldn't get there. And I got there in time for the event, but not for our conversation. So we literally, I'm driving and taking notes. Well, I mean, I'm being driven. Taking notes in this blinding snowstorm, but we got the job done even under those circumstances. Larry, you went to Israel with Elisa, Alex Lederman from our staff, and me in mid-December. And I have to say, it was incredible to be there 2 months after October 7th. It was so important to have someone like you on our trip. You helped to ground us in a very difficult time. As it's been mentioned, your unfailing good humor sustained us. And the other thing I'll say is, you know, when you travel with people, you learn things about them that you didn't know before. So what Larry learned about me is that I can't travel without a monster bag, no matter how long the trip is or how short. But what I learned about Larry is, sure, I can take carry-on if I wear the same outfit from the gym in the morning through meetings all day and into the evening. Piece of cake. So I could take a page out of your book too, Larry. Anyway, you are truly a mensch. You are a blessing to our organization. Your family is wonderful, and appreciate so many of your family being here today. And the good news is, you're done. You don't have to be honored by IPF again, unless you want to. So, Mazal Tov, Larry. And I have something to give you, so come on up. I take it this is not a Frisbee. So oh, you want to say? Got it? It's yours. All right. Larry, here's your.
So, thank you, Susie, for those really kind words. And there was one thing that was true. The thing about the gym. That part was true. Other than that, I'm trying to figure out exactly what which Larry Gottlieb people have been talking about today. I don't recognize, well, whatever. So when Susie first asked me to be the honoree, I declined. Actually, I declined a few times.
But you don't say no to Susie, as many people have learned over the years. Motivated by her passion for Jewish causes and everything she gets involved with, her commitment and perseverance, that word, have all led to the enormous growth of IPF. Now, one of the things that I appreciate about IPF is its ability to balance the urgent as well as the long term. And right now, to be sure, nothing is more urgent or more important than the need for the immediate release of the Israeli hostages still held by Hamas. And right now, to be sure, nothing is more urgent or more important than the need for the immediate release, I said it again, of the hostages. The war in Gaza, the immediate threat of rockets from Hamas, from Hezbollah, and even directly from Iran, the protest and turmoil of Israeli politics, everything's urgent. Amidst all the pain and suffering of the moment, it is hard to imagine a peaceful future. For many Israelis and Palestinians, it is virtually impossible to think about peace. But Israeli and Palestinians are not going anywhere. So yes, this is a moment of urgency. What happens now will not only impact the war in Gaza or the Israeli political landscape, it will impact the future of the U.S.-Israel relationship. It will impact the future of Israel. It will impact the relationship of our kids and grandkids with the Jewish state. It will impact the future of the Jewish people. Since October 7th, it has never been more important to American Jews to say, Hineni, here I am. We are here to stand with our Israeli family, provided needed support to all those suffering, and to lend constructive advice to politicians both here and in Israel. If we do not offer a vision for a more peaceful and secure future, extremists who do not share our values or commitments and who do have a vision for the future will fill the void. We cannot lose sight of our ultimate goal, a secure, Jewish, and democratic Israel. 2 states for 2 peoples with security, dignity, and opportunity for all. IPF's analyses, policy reports, podcasts, webinars, and programs are impacting with all those developments, meaning in the short term. But IPF never loses sight of the long term, the future we are seeking and how we might get there. So I want to thank all of you for also saying Hineni, all of you who are here today, and all those who have supported IPF. David Sherman, thank you for your leadership as IPF board chair. I know that through your efforts and the efforts of the board, which is composed of remarkably dedicated, influential, and compassionate people, IPF will continue to grow and be influential. David Halpern, you have been part of my involvement with IPF from the very beginning. You show up with remarkable leadership skills and talents that have enabled this organization to become a powerful voice seeking to ensure that Israel remains a secure Jewish and democratic state. Lissy and the entire staff, thank you for all your work. And in particular, thank you for all your work to make this such a successful event. You really know how to show up in Chicago on Sunday and 3.5 days later in New York on Wednesday. Quite amazing. I am so proud of all my children, by birth and by marriage, not just because they are here today, but that they are present every day. Whether it being a caring spouse or a devoted parent, you put your whole selves into it, and you have each found your own way to give back and give voice to those who can't always speak for themselves. And you have given me the 7 most wonderful grandchildren in the world who are also learning the meaning of tzedakah. Marilyn. We began our volunteerism pathway together. You became president of the school board, and I learned how to reheat dinner in the microwave. You became the chief deputy county executive of Nassau County, in part because of your political skills. I became chair of the Nassau County Medical Center, and I learned I had no political skills. You became president of the Jewish Women's Foundation, and I became chair of UJ Long Island, and later chair of Common Point. We have walked this path together, always present for each other, to offer advice, be a sounding board, and to provide support. So thank you, Marilyn. Everyone knows that that was a pause that required some clearing up. Everyone knows that I could not have succeeded without you by my side. So here we are at the end of a wonderful event. Wonderful because we have all said Hineni and stood together, that we have supported an important and necessary organization, and that we have faith in the future of a vibrant Jewish and democratic state of Israel. So thank you again, and if there's dessert, have dessert. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm delighted to be here today to celebrate Larry. You're all so much about laugh, and I'm sorry, but this part is not gonna be as uplifting, but we're gonna end positive, I promise. I'd like to welcome Major General Noam Tibon and his wife Gali Tibon, a hero in her own right, as you saw in the video, and you will hear so much more in this interview. Thank you for coming all the way from Israel. I know it's your first trip out of the country since October 7th. We really appreciate you being here. Noam, right? I can call you Noam. We're doing Israeli style. I think every Israeli, maybe every American Jew will remember where they were on October 7th, but I think your story is a little bit more unique. Can you share with us how October 7th looked from your perspective?
Yes, but first of all, to Larry, which is an honor to be here with you, and to all the good people of IPF, I would really like to thank you from the deep of my heart for your love and support of the State of Israel. This is really, really important for us. October 7, Saturday, Gali and I woke up early in the morning and we went to do PT along the beautiful beaches in Tel Aviv. 6:30 in the morning, while we were swimming, we heard the sirens. And we were in the middle of the sea, and I remember, we stopped, and Gali said, "No, what do you say?" And I said, "Listen, we are in the middle of nowhere. What can happen to us?" And we continue to finish our swimming. 7:15 in the morning, we entered our car. I opened my cellular phone and I saw a WhatsApp text from Amir, my son. "Dad, there are terrorists in the neighborhood in Nahal Oz." Of course, this is not a good way to start the morning, but immediately I called him and I gave him the best directions that I can. I said, "Lock all the windows, lock all the door, get into the safe room, shut the door, be sure that it's shut, be quiet, I'm calling the military." And Gali and I speeding home. We live about 10 minutes from the beach. And in that 10 minutes, I'm texting the Chief of Staff, Herzi Halevi, the Southern Command Commander, and the Division Commander, basically telling them there are terrorists in Kibbutz Nahal Oz. The only one who answered me is the Chief of Staff, Herzi Halevi, which basically said, we know. Gali and I coming home, and you know, I served in the military 35 years. So, you know, in a way, I need to trust the military. But something in my heart told me, you have to go there. So immediately I switched. I didn't even think to wear uniform, which I have an old pair. I took my pistol, and then Gali told me something very smart. Said, Noam, let me drive for you, because you will need both hands to call the military and maybe to use the pistol. And I said, great idea. And we both jumping on our Jeep. 7:30 in the morning, we got another text message from Amir, which basically said, they shooting on us, on our house. I think there is a terrorist inside the house. By the way, this was totally the truth, because 6:30 in the morning, more than 150 Hamas terrorists enter Kibbutz Nahal Oz. They had a very good intelligence, and they went directly to the house of Ilan Fiorentino, Zichrono Livracha, which is in charge of the security of the kibbutz. They knew exactly where he lives. And there was a huge battle, and he's my son's neighbor. So 7:30 in the morning, we can see photos of terrorists fighting on my son's porch, which is a wall distance between the terrorist and my family. And I told Amir the same. Shut the door of the armor room, be quiet. I'm bringing the military. And Gali and I driving, speeding like hell, and I'm trying to call everyone whom I know in the military. I retired 8 years ago, so I know a lot of people in the IDF, Shabak. Nobody is answering me. From Ashkelon, we are the only vehicle on the road. We turn left in a red light in Yad Mordechai because nobody is there. And then basically we meet the war near Kibbutz Nir Am. And this is something like a movie. We see a police car blocking the road on both sides, just like in the movies. Policemen are shooting. And we saw a white pickup fighting with them. Later on, we understood about this whole plan of Hamas. And one of the policemen turned to us and said, go away, go away, go away. And we are speeding. And we stop on the side, and basically we said, okay, what we are doing, maybe we'll take a side road through the fields. We know the area very well. But it was a matter of seconds. A young couple is jumping from the bushes and running into the street, to the road, where all the shooting happened. Very dangerous. So we open the door and we shout to them, come on, come on. They enter our vehicle and they are shaking like hell. We give them water and said, what's going on? And they said, we were in a party, terrorists came, they slaughtered everyone. We ran away, they shoot our car. Amazing story. And sometimes, you know, you have to take decisions according to your values in a second. And we immediately understood we cannot leave them there because there is a good chance that they will be killed. So we did a U-turn and we are driving back to Ashkelon. Near Kfar Silver, we meet a police car and we put them there and tell them, call your family to bring you because nothing is functioning. And then we're trying to take another direction. east of Sderot. And again, we are alone on the road. The communication with Amir become very hard. We cannot talk with him anymore. The electricity failed in Nahal Oz, so no WhatsApp. And then near Kibbutz Brur Chayil, we see another police checkpoint. 2 police cars blocking the road completely. And, we are going down. I saw them, my ID general, retired. And I'm begging, please let me go. My son has a terrorist inside his house. And they said, no way. And Gali is crying. Now, we have to say something about this day and about the police. The Hamas plan was to send all those pickups all over Israel, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Rishon LeZion, Ashkelon, and do the slaughter all over Israel. The only order, the only plan that worked that day was the police checkpoints to block a terror attack area. This was the only plan that worked, and they stopped this horrible plan of the Hamas. We lost 61 brave officers of the police, but they really saved Israel. But for us, they didn't let us go. And then, sometimes you need something to ring your bell. And then one of policemen who understood who am I told me, you know what, Noam, don't worry. The military is taking care of the situation. And I already knew that I'm trying to contact everybody. Nobody is answering. We are almost 2 hours there. We didn't see even one soldier. And we heard the story and said, okay, enough is enough. It's depend only on us. And then we decided that we bypass these checkpoints through the fields. And then we go near Sderot. There is another police checkpoint. And we understood if we will not stop there, they will not let us go. So we are rushing through them. We open the windows and we shout, where Israelis, don't shoot, don't shoot. And then it's about 10 o'clock in the morning. We are at Sderot Junction. And we saw something which I never saw in my lifetime. And I was Sayeret Matkal, the 1st Lebanon. I was a paratrooper battalion commander. I was in charge of Hebron in the 2nd Intifada. I saw bodies, but something like this I never saw in my lifetime. So many, many cars upside down, burning on the ditches, and it's all full of bodies. Many of them young people and many female inside the cars, outside the cars, on the road. And we are. And I remember Gali and I stopped on the side of the road. There were a few soldiers and few policemen there, but they are all not functioning. And we are talking, and I said, Gali, listen, I never saw something like this in my lifetime. It's very dangerous. It's much bigger. And Gali told me something very smart. She said, Noam, if I would tell you about a couple 10 kilometers from their kids, and the kids have a terrorist inside the house, and it is very dangerous, what would you tell them? And this was it. We decided that we are taking the risk and we are going. And we are heading south. 10 o'clock in the morning, the whole region south of Sderot was occupied by Hamas. There were more Hamas troops than Israeli soldiers. At that time, no state of Israel and no IDF. For my first time in my lifetime, I felt so humiliated by the situation. And Gali is driving, maneuvering between bodies, and I'm very focused with my pistol. The connection with Amir lost. And then at the entrance of Kibbutz Mefalsim, we saw another battle between terrorists and soldiers on the gate of the kibbutz. So we stop on the side of the road, we jump to one of the migunit, the places that you can hide. And we waited there, and they were shooting outside. When shooting ended, basically, my dream comes true. 3 armored vehicles with Yamam, this is the elite police force, anti-terrorism, came to the junction. And this was my dream, that I will meet such a force and we can go together to evacuate or save the people of Nahal Oz. And I'm going to them and I said, can you help me? Can you take me to Nahal Oz? And then who am I? And the soldiers really said, yes, let's go. And they wanted to see where the house is, etc. But then the commanders, and this was one of the biggest problems of that day, said, no, I need an order, I need permission, I need to ask for, and he's trying to call, but at that time, no headquarters functioning in the all-Israeli Southern Command. And time is running, it become noon. And then one brave soldier by the name of Avi, who knew me when I was the commander of the West Bank Division, and he says, I'm going with Noam, I don't care. This was the first one on that day that was willing to help me to go to Nahal Oz. So we decided that Gali will stay there in the Migunit, in the shelter, alone, and Avi and myself are going to the unknown. I'm driving in my Jeep with a pistol. He is well armed, but already wounded in the leg. And again, this was the only Israeli presence on this road, 12 in the noontime on that day. We're coming to Saad Circle. In order to go to Nahal Oz, you have to turn west to Gaza. And basically, there was an Israeli attack helo in the sky. And we were very afraid that he will identify us as terrorists and will shoot at us. So we waited about 10, 15 minutes. And then suddenly a military car came with 6 officers from the paratrooper basic training. They heard and they came. And we stopped them and they said, what is your mission? And said, we heard about forces who need help near Nahal Oz. And we said, great, let's go together. And we are driving, it's about 2 kilometers to Nahal Oz. It's a very side road. And then again, shooting. I'm looking at my left-hand side and there is an Israeli jeep, military jeep, full of holes from bullets. And on the one hand side, lying 5 Israeli troops, and on the other hand, attacking them, about 8 Hamas soldiers. So immediately we stop and, we jump, us and the paratroopers, and I'm jumping and lying between the Israeli soldiers. I'm turning, we are under heavy, heavy fire, and I understood that my pistol is useless. I'm turning right, and I'm checking the soldiers, and 3 of them are already dead. Chen Buchris, the deputy of Maglan unit from Ashdod, Iftach Yabetz from Ramat HaSharon, another officer, and Afik Rosenthal from Kfar Menachem. The fire was on us. And, I did what soldiers are doing. I took the helmet and the M16 of Chen Buchis with a telescope. I was the most right in the squad. 2 terrorists tried to attack us from my side. I killed the first one about 10 meters from me, and then the second one. And after a few minutes, we killed all of them. The road to Nahal Oz is open. And then one of the paratroopers shout, I'm wounded, I'm wounded. We checked him, He got a bullet in his belly, and he is bleeding like hell. And the soldiers telling me, Noam, can you evacuate him? Now, I wanted to go to Nahal Oz, but I understood. And again, we are talking about values. It is decisions of seconds. I understood. If I will leave him there, he's going to be dead. So I said, throw him on my jeep. I evacuated 3 wounded soldiers. From the first force of Maglan, 5 people, 3 got killed and 2 were wounded. Later on, we talked with one of them, and he basically said that 5 minutes before we came, he shouted in the communication, Buchris is dead, Yaabitz is dead, Afik is dead. If you will not come in 5 minutes, there will be 5 bodies in Gaza. This was the situation. And I'm alone. Again, I'm alone, I'm speeding, I'm coming to the shelter and I'm shouting, Gali, Gali. And Gali is coming out and I said, Gali, take them to the hospital in Barzilai. And she said, I will, but you go back to Nahal Oz, and she pointed another corps that is in the junction and said, Israel, go with Israel. Israel Ziv, another brave general, retired general, that was my commander in the paratrooper, heard about the war and came to rescue people. While I was in the battle, he came to Mefalsim Junction to see if the people need help. On the one side, all the people in the shelter were dead from the party. The terrorists throw grenades. And then he coming to the other side, and he meets Gali. And they start to talk, and I'm coming. So my brave wife is taking the wounded to Barzilai. Later on, we visited Yedidia Srur, the paratrooper officer that was wounded, badly wounded. And we talk about what happened in the car, and basically he's asking Gali, how much time to Ashkelon? And she said, half an hour. He said, I will not make it, because he is bleeding. His life is bleeding out. So Gali took a decision. She saw an ambulance on her way to Ashkelon, and basically took him to the hospital, to the ambulance. They had blood, and this is basically what saved his life. And she took the rest of them to the hospital, and I'm very proud of her. She was alone. And now again, we're talking about values, and we're talking about friendship. I opened the door, and I said, Israel, take me to Nahal Oz. And he says one word, jump. And I said, Israel, it's very dangerous. It's full of ambushes all over. I'm just coming from a battle. We lost 3 officers. One word, jump. And I'm on his car. He is with a pistol. Now I am with an M16. No talking. We are ready to the battle. I open the window. The M16 is outside, and we are driving to Nahal Oz. We meet the soldiers, which were killing another terrorist. There were now 4. 1:15 p.m., we are at the entrance of Kibbutz Nahal Oz, and we are the first Israeli force who come to help the people in Nahal Oz and in the military post. The first one. And a few minutes later, 2 Israeli forces came. Israel said goodbye. He's going to Be'eri. And basically, we split. The paratroopers went to rescue the people, the soldiers, in Nahal Oz post. We lost 61 soldiers on that post. Includes the female soldiers, the tatzpitaniyot, the ladies that monitors the border, and we will talk about it later on. In Nahal Oz, there were 3 waves of attacks by terrorists from Gaza. More than 500 people from Gaza entered the kibbutz. And they were lucky because of 2 reasons. The first reason was the Kitat Konenut, the people from the kibbutz who guard. And the second was, incidentally, a border patrol squad that slept there. So those 14 people, brave people, fought against 500 terrorists. They slowed them down. They slowed them down. When we arrived, 2 were dead and 6 were wounded, and they were exhausted. Kibbutz Nachal Oz lost 15 people and 7 were kidnapped, 5 back, and 2 are still in the hand of the Hamas. And yes, we need to bring them back as soon as possible. So I'm with the soldiers. I'm not their commander, so I'm not trying to give them orders. What I'm trying to do is to give them advices, to be their mentor. And basically, we enter the kibbutz, we meet the Kitat Konenut, and I understood the situation, and I give 2 advices. Number 1, everyone that outside the house kill him is a terrorist, but inside the houses there are live people. Don't shoot into the houses unless it's dangerous. And number 2, let's do it fast. We have to hurry. And the brave soldiers of Maglan and Sayeret Givati, which I was honored to fight with, we went from house to house to house to house. We killed more than 30 terrorists, 30 terrorists. We lost 1 member of the Kitat Konenut in this battle. And around 4:30, I left home 7:30 in the morning. It was my big moment. I saw Amir's house, and the door was locked. And, you know, this was a good sign that they are alive. So it still took a little bit, but then I'm coming to the armor window of the safe room, and I knock on the window and said, Amir, it's Abba, it's Daddy. And then I hear voices from inside, and my 4-year-old granddaughter, Galia, said, Sababa, Grandpa came. And this was an amazing moment. But yes, we were still in the middle of the battle, so we had to continue the battle. In the evening, we evacuated more than 400 people from Kibbutz Nachal Oz, all alive. Since we arrived, we lost only 1 individual from the kibbutz, unfortunately. And if there is one thing that I'm so proud on that day, that everyone that Gali and I met on our journey to Nachal Oz to save our own family, we save him and save his life. The people from the party, the wounded soldiers, and all the community of Nachal Oz.
You know, what an incredible story. And of course, everyone you met on the way was willing to help, but there were very few on the way. And, you know, this heroism of you and Israel Ziv, both in your 60s, but I grew up, I'm sure people here in this room grew up thinking that the IDF is one of the strongest militaries in the world. And you served there for 35 years. I mean, what happened?
You know, this is the most disturbing question. What happened to the IDF? And, you know, October 8th, early in the morning, it's very hot on the sun, yeah. October 8th, very early in the morning when I woke up, basically I said, everybody everybody that is in charge for October 7, which is the biggest failure in the history of Israel, need to take responsibility and go away. And I mean, all the leadership of the IDF, all the leadership of the Shabak, and all the Israeli government, and the first one that need to take responsibility and go home is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, because they are in charge for this failure. We need to do a formal investigation. This is very important. And I would start this investigation in the brave soldiers. And today they released a terrible movie about the minute that the Hamas animals took them to Gaza.
It's the female observer unit, and the families just decided to release the video as the last resort to move into action.
Yeah. Those brave soldiers, basically 300 meters from the border, they saw Hamas practicing. They told their superior what Hamas is trying to do, and the officer said, "Shut up, you don't know what you're talking about." They didn't listen to them. And then on that day, they were attacked. They have no weapons. And they were burned to death. And some of them took to Gaza and are still in the hand of the Hamas. This is a place where we need to start every investigation, because this is basically the story. But in terms of the military, there are two main issues, which one of them is a very strange call, 3 o'clock in the morning, between the Chief of Staff, Herzi Halevi, the Southern Commander, Yaron, and Ronen Bar, the head of the Shabak. And basically they had a warning because of the cellular phone, and you all heard about it. And I would tell each one of you, if I would walk you 3 o'clock in the morning and I would say there is a warning, the default, you don't have to be smart, you don't have to be military, to say one thing. This is an alert. Put everybody on alert. One phone call to the head of the Air Force sends the helos. Put all the tanks and all the soldiers outside of their post. All the kibbutzim, the kitat konenut, give them weapons, be on the fence. I believe that if they would do only this, and if I would only this, the whole picture on that day would look totally different. The other issue, which unfortunately the IDF didn't give an answer yet, and this is very, very disturbing. What orders they gave to the forces on October 7, and why a 62-year-old grandpa who came with his own vehicle and, took people from the party, etc., was the first one to come. This is crazy, and they need to give us a clear answer. What orders and why the forces from the West Bank delay to come to help the kibbutzim? And the third issue, which I saw when I was there, the officers waited for orders. I grew up in a military where you run into the fire. And on that day, too many officers waited to orders while Hamas slaughtered our people in the kibbutzim, and this is not the IDF spirit, and this is not the IDF values. And yes, we have to fix it.
Thank you. I mean, yes, the intelligence and operational failure is starking, but I want to move to the war itself in Gaza. Since then, there's no question the IDF came back to its senses and showed incredible bravery in the war in Gaza. But if you look at the war itself, we have two war aims, right? to dismantle Hamas's capability to threaten Israel militarily, and to bring back the hostages. We have achieved neither one. Even today, there's another report. Every day goes by, another report. 3 soldiers died in northern Gaza, an area that we declared victory, right? We declared clear of Hamas already twice. That's the 3rd time. How, you're a general. That's what you did in your life. How would you assess sort of the military conduct of this war, and what's the way out?
To win a war, and this is our experience from Lebanon and your experience from Vietnam and Afghanistan and Iraq, you need to do a short, decisive war and then get a strategic solution. In this war, because of political reasons, Benjamin Netanyahu is not doing any strategic discussion. And this is hurting the war. And basically, our soldiers are going to Gaza again and again and again to the same forces, the same places. The main issue is, without a strategic leg, who will control Gaza? What need to do in Lebanon? How to bring the hostages back home? We will not win this war. And basically, my feeling, and I think many Israelis feel the same, that Benjamin Netanyahu thinks only about one thing, sitting on his chair, and he is willing to pay any price to the extremists, Smotrich and Ben Gvir, and that's why we are not winning the war. And more than this, we are hurting Israel's main forces on daily basis, because for many years, the security of Israel were built on 4 legs: strong military, strong economy, strong democracy, we want to be part of the Western world, and strong relationship with the United States. And as you can see, this government is hurting all our main legs of force, all our fundamental. And this is why this is so crazy. Now, I can tell you this. The number one priority is bring back the hostages alive, which means you have to do it now, and you have to pay any price, even if you need to stop the war, and bring them back home. Otherwise, if we will have so many Ron Arad, we will not be a country that people would like to live in. We have to bring them home. And yes, they are telling all the time that the war is going on. For 3 months, there is no war in Gaza, only operation. And that's why I highly believe that right now we have to replace the government and bring good people to bring Israel back on track.
So unfortunately, I can talk to you for hours, but we do have to end, and I promise Larry we will end positive. So we won't talk about the ICC or Ben Gvir or Smotrich, but really curious, what gives you hope these days?
You know, on October 8 in the morning, I understood that we have more than 100,000 refugees in the state of Israel, because I have 4 at my home. And I'm leading a group of retired Israeli generals and equivalent in the Shabak, Mossad, police. We were together to fight against the terrible legal issues that the government tried to do to hurt our democracy. And we have a WhatsApp group, and I said, short text, I need volunteers to help the communities. By noon, I had more than 30. We did a Zoom call, and I told them, listen, guys, I don't know what to tell you, but you have to go to the communities. Nobody is talking to them. We were the first one to go and talk with the communities, help them. In the first days, who is alive and who is missing, and who is going to milk the cows, because this is agriculture area, and then where to do the funerals, where to bury it. After 4 days, the IDF understood that we are the only ones that dealing with it. They put all of us on uniform. And then for more than a month, we took care of the kibbutzim because no government, nothing is functioning. And I can tell you this, in the state of Israel, there are the best people in the world. Maybe we have the worst government in the world, but we have the best people. I trust them. And that's why right now, what I'm trying to do, of course, helping the communities, volunteering, but we are working very hard to replace this terrible government by Benjamin Netanyahu and go to an election and bring the right leadership, and with the good people that we have in Israel, and with the good people and the good friends that we have here in the United States, I truly believe that this can happen soon. So thank you very much, and salute to you, Larry.
Please thank me, joining. Thank you, Noam. Thank you, Gali, so much. Congratulations, Larry.
Hello. All right. I just want to thank one last time Noam and Gali for your remarkable heroism. And thank you all for coming to honor our work and particularly to honor Larry. And it has been especially meaningful to be able to do this with Noam and Gali. Our Young Professional Network each and every year goes to Israel and would visit Amir at his kibbutz in Nachal Oz. And that day we were all so concerned about his well-being, we could not imagine the horrors, but also the heroism. And so appreciate his being with us. And so appreciate all of you being with us to honor Larry. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.